Hey guys, we are here in Saint-Etienne Church by bar-le-duc in France. We're gonna explore this church. The Saint-Etienne Church is a Catholic church in the town of bar-le-duc in northern France. Also within it is the famous cadaver tomb of René of Chalon. The Saint-Etienne Church was formerly the Collegiate Church of Saint Pierre between 1315 to 1520. The facade was erected between 1513 to 20. The bell tower dates from 1630. The Collegiate was served by a college of canons erected in 1315 by Duke Edward I on the site of a former chapel and enriched by the Dukes of Bar. Originally reserved for city administration officers, the Revolution transformed it into a parish church and now houses the remains of the tombs of the Dukes of Bar. The many conflicts that the city suffered during the 100 Years' War undermined the first building. It was erected several times in the 15th century, like many churches in the region. It is built on a hall type where the side aisles are as high as the central nave, thus giving it great clarity. Although the overall structure of the building is Gothic, many details show the appearance of a new aesthetic with certain ornaments of Renaissance influence. The flamboyant decor, characterized by the great technical virtuosity and the search for naturalism, that rubs shoulders with ornaments of a new taste resulting from Italian fashion imported by the Anjou family, then in possession of the duchy. In 1782, the other collegiate church in town, the Saint Max, became a parish church. In doing so, the chapter of Saint Max merges with that of Saint Pierre and brings with it its treasure, its relics, as well as the remains of the sovereigns of Barrois. During the Revolution, the building was mutilated and looted. The statues on the facade, the coats of arms that covered the church were removed. Faced with the state of degradation of the building, restoration work was undertaken in the 19th century. Today, the church contains rich furniture and several artworks, including two pieces by the sculptor Lisgy Richier, the Transi, a major masterpiece of Renaissance sculpture, and Christ and the Two Thieves. The story behind the cadaver. René of Chalon, Prince of Orange, and the stadholder of Holland, Zeeland, Utrecht, and Gelre died on July 15, 1544 at the age of 25 during the siege of Saint-Dizier, where he fought for Emperor Charles V. René had been mortally wounded in battle the previous day and died with the emperor in attendance at his bedside. Dying without any direct descendants, Charles wrote soon after to René's wife, Anna of Lorraine, setting out in detail the circumstances of René's last hours and death. The monument apparently fulfills his wish that he be represented above his tomb as an écorché, that is a body without skin, and as he will be 3 years after his death. Cadaver monuments had been built for other members of the family, including his father, Henry III of Nassau-Breda, his uncle, his grandmother, and the uncle of his wife. René requested that his tomb present him not as a standard figure, but a life-size skeleton with strips of dried skin flapping over a hollow carcass, whose right hand clutches at the empty rib cage, while the left hand holds high his heart in a grand gesture. René's intention has never been definitely attributed, and there is no mention of it in either Charles' letter or René's will. Given this lack of record, and that at only 25 years old, René was unlikely to have previously thought closely about his own burial and memorial. It seems most likely that the idea behind the design came from Anna. She is known to have commissioned the piece from Lichy Richer, who was then little known outside his local area of Saint-Mihiel, in northeastern France, but is today considered one of the most important sculptors of the late Gothic period. Although the precise dating is uncertain, it is known to have begun after 1544 and was completed before 1557. His tomb has become his most well-known and influential work, remarkable for its original presentation of a living corpse, a motif unparalleled in earlier funerary art. In accordance with the funeral rites of the time, René's heart, bowels, and bones were separated and placed in the collegiate church of Saint Max, which was demolished during the French Revolution and abandoned in 1782, while the rest were transferred to Breda to be interned with his father and his daughter, who died in early infancy. His widow commissioned Riquier to construct a transit to hold some of the remains of her husband. The monument, along with other remains and relics of members of his family, were reinterred at the Church of Saint-Etienne in June 1790. The statue. It stands in 70 inches in height and made from black marble and limestone. Both the statue and its frame are supported by an iron stud located at the figure's pelvis. The corpse life-size, putrefied and emaciated, and hangs above the church altarpiece. Its left arm reaches out with its right hand resting on its chest. The outstretched arm may have been once held René's preserved heart and extended in a gesture that may have been either pleading or tribute to the higher being. The rotting skeleton is depicted in an unflinching, realistic manner and placed on a stylobate supported on two black marble columns with Corinthian capitals. His left hand reaches upward as if leading to heaven or God. His outstretched hand were stolen by a French soldier in 1793. It was later replaced, but shown holding an hourglass, an obvious symbolic object for a memento mori. However, the placement changed the meaning of the sculpture from a representation of René to a depiction of the personification of death or the dance macabre. Legacy. A copy of the cadaver was produced in 1894 for the Chaillot Palace. François Pampon made a further copy in 1922 for the tomb of the playwright and poet Henri Bataille of Meaux, while another replica is in the Museum of Bar-le-Duc. The first literary reference to the transi appears in Louis Desmasures' 1557 epitaph of the heart of René de Chalon, Prince of Orange, and a photograph of the statue appears in the cover of the 1992 Faber edition of the book. The French poet Louis Aragon evoked the tomb in the Le Crèvecoeur, published in 1941. It is also inspired the titular poem in Tom Gunn's 1992 collection of The Man with Night Sweats, written in the aftermath of the deaths of friends from AIDS. Conservation. The tomb was originally placed in the collegiate church of St. Max in bar-le-duc, where it was positioned over a vault, which may have been held the hearts of René, his father-in-law, Anton, Duke of Lorraine, and other members of his family. It was moved to the church in 1782 when the former site was abandoned. It was designated a historic monument on June 18, 1898. And the tomb was moved for safekeeping to the Panthéon in Paris during the First World War, before being returned to bar-le-duc in 1920. Both the statue and altarpiece underwent extensive restoration between 1998 to 2003. Now let us look some of the items inside the church beside the cadaver. Open Coral by Jean Medard. Sensitive to the duality between life and death, it was inspired by the sculpture Le Transi by Riquier. Great Tribune Organ. The sideboard partially from an older organ built in 1770 to 71 by Nicolas Dupont, an organ builder from Lorraine. Ransacked during the French Revolution, the instrument was replaced in 1828 by a new instrument, the work of Jean-François Vautrin, pupil and successor of Dupont. Despite subsequent modifications, it remained as one of Vautrin's best preserved organs. It's on the cross with the two thieves. Attributed to Lichy Riquier, first half of the 16th century, these three polychrome wooden statues, placed in the choir of the Saint-Etienne church, must have belonged to a larger ensemble, the origin of which is still unknown. They are distinguished by a great variety of attitudes and expressions, reinforced by anatomical accuracy. Christ, with his emaciated face, half-open mouth, and closed eyelids, manifests deep pain, made more intense by the heavy crown of thorns pressed against his skull. The bad thief is characterized by his contorted posture with broken lines and his tense face, while the good thief, the calm face, seems to inspire renunciation. Our Lady of the Gué. According to legend, in bar-le-duc above the port of Bois, there was from the 12th century a venerated statue of the Virgin Mother who in 1440 miraculously saved the city besieged by the enemy. The besiegers arrived silently near the gate without being seen. They were touching the ramparts when suddenly a voice issuing from the niche where the Virgin was watching cried, "Watch out, watch out, the city is taken." A soldier picks up a stone and throws it to the Virgin, saying, "Take care." The Virgin receives the stone and gives it to the child Jesus. The soldier drops dead, struck with terror. The assailants fled, crying, "God save us!" The fragments of the ancient statue, broken on July 20, 1794, were piously collected and were used to recreate the current statue of the Notre Dame de Gué, which was transported to the Church of Saint-Etienne around 1806. The legend was the source of a particularly popular devotion during the First World War, in its coronation in 1920. The chapel, built around 1524, with elegant slated lane and marked by Renaissance furniture. The altarpiece was from the 17th century. There are also a couple of statues, such as Saint Roch and Saint Adrian, attributed to Jean Croc around 1510. These two saints were venerated to guard against major epidemics. I hope you guys enjoy our little sightseeing. Now we're going to our next destination. So guys, if you like our videos, please subscribe to our channel and feel free to comment.
Hit the bell, hit the bell, hit the bell, hit the bell. Come on guys, hit the bell.
For notifications.
And don't forget to share.
And like!